Does history repeat itself? I mean, it's a question that's echoed through the ages, right? It's like this ghost that haunts every great power, especially when they're at the very peak of their glory.
Let's put it another way. Can the greatest powers on Earth just fade away? Can their foundations crumble so slowly, so completely, that one day they just aren't a superpower anymore? To even begin to answer that, we've got to look back, way back. And when you look back, there's one shadow that just looms larger than all the others, especially for any civilization that calls itself great, and that's the ghost of Rome. We're talking about an empire that lasted 1,000 years. Its collapse became the ultimate cautionary tale. It's a story we really have to get our heads around. See, the thing about Rome is, it didn't just fall in a day. It wasn't one big event. It was this slow, agonizing decay, a real death by 1,000 cuts. And the first cracks, they didn't come from invaders at the gates. No, they started deep, deep within its own foundations.
So, where did it start? Well, first, there was the economic sickness. The whole engine of the empire was conquest, right? But what happens when the conquests stop? The flow of plunder, of gold, it dries up. To pay its massive army, Rome started messing with its own money, debasing its currency, minting coins with less and less silver, until they were practically worthless. And what does that lead to? You guessed it, runaway inflation. Public trust in the economy? Shattered. At the same time, because they relied so much on slave labor, regular farmers got pushed off their land and crammed into cities where there were no jobs.
And as the economy rotted from the inside out, the social fabric started to unravel too. Think about this. Choosing an emperor became this deadly game of civil war and assassination. We're talking dozens of emperors in a single century. With that much political chaos, who's taking care of the basics? Public works, like the famous aqueducts and roads, they just fell into disrepair. For the average Roman citizen, that bedrock faith in the empire, it just started to evaporate.
And all this time, while it was rotting from within, the pressure from the outside was just becoming relentless. The military was stretched incredibly thin, trying to defend this massive, crumbling border from constant invasions. Some historians also point to the rise of Christianity, arguing that it diverted loyalty and resources away from the state. And then, finally, in 476 AD, the final blow landed. But it wasn't some huge, epic battle. The last Roman emperor was overthrown, not with a bang, but with a whimper.
Which brings us to that famous quote from George Santayana. "Those who do not remember history are doomed to repeat it." Man, that really hits home, doesn't it? It's like a bridge connecting that ancient world right to our own doorstep. And that right there, that's the bridge that brings us to the really uncomfortable question. The question at the very heart of what we're talking about today. Are we hearing those same echoes of Rome right now, in the world's current superpower? Now look, the parallels are never going to be identical, but when you put them side by side, they are striking. I mean, just look at this. Rome funded its empire with conquest and plunder. The United States has fueled its economy with massive amounts of debt. Both had these powerful, incredibly expensive militaries stretched all over the globe. Both were dealing with deep internal political and social strains, and just like Rome's economy eventually ground to a halt, the US has also seen its own economic growth start to slow down. And that debt, the scale of it, is just, it's hard to even wrap your head around. Over $31 trillion, a figure that just keeps climbing. It's not just a number on a screen, it's this massive storm cloud hanging over the economy, and it's shaking the confidence of investors, not just at home, but all around the world. And that leads us to one of the most critical pillars of American power, the US dollar itself. For decades, it's been the undisputed king of global finance, no question. But, as history shows us, kings can be dethroned.
So what exactly is a world reserve currency? Well, simply put, it's the currency that other countries hold in their banks to do business with each other. It's the default. And for the United States, having the dollar in that position has been called an exorbitant privilege. It means there's always this global demand for dollars, which keeps borrowing costs low for the US and gives it huge geopolitical influence.
And you don't have to guess if things are changing. The trend is undeniable. Just look at this. Back in the year 2000, over 71% of the world's currency reserves were held in US dollars, okay? Now, fast forward to 2022, and that number has dropped all the way to just over 58%. It's not a crash, but it's a slow, steady erosion of that dominance.
And this didn't just happen overnight. You can actually trace the cracks. It arguably started way back in 1971 when the US cut the dollar's direct tie to gold. But more recently, things have sped up. The US started using powerful financial sanctions against countries like Russia, which pushed them to actively look for ways around the dollar. Then, in 2022, the seizure of Russia's foreign reserves, that sent a shockwave through the global system. It was a wake-up call to other nations that their dollar holdings could be vulnerable too.
So why is this shift happening? It's not just one thing. It's a powerful mix of factors. You have the use of the dollar as a weapon through sanctions. You have that wavering confidence because of the massive US debt we talked about. And then there's just simple economic reality. For 128 countries, China is now their #1 trading partner. So naturally, nations are looking for alternatives. They want to reduce their dependence on American policy.
So the big question is, what comes next? Does a decline in the dollar automatically mean the decline of America? Is it just like Rome, where the hollowing out of the economy came right before the fall? Well, the future here, it's not yet written.
What seems most likely isn't that some other currency, like the euro or the yuan, is just going to take over and become the new king. Instead, what we're probably moving toward is more of a multipolar currency world, a world where several major currencies from several major powers all share the global stage. And in this new landscape, you have the established power of the United States facing this rising group of nations we call BRICS. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And make no mistake, they are actively working together to bypass the dollar, to trade in their own local currencies. They're forming a really powerful economic counterweight to the old order.
But, and this is a big but, it's important to remember that the dollar's main challengers have their own serious problems. The Eurozone, for example, is a monetary union, but it's not a true fiscal union. It doesn't have a unified treasury to back its currency in a major crisis. And China's markets, they just don't have the transparency and the rule of law that global investors need to feel safe. So for right now, there's no clear successor ready to take the throne.
Which brings us right back to where we started, with one final, really profound thought. Are these parallels we see between the fall of Rome and the challenges we face today, are they a fixed map, a destiny that we're just bound to follow? Or are they simply a warning? A chance to read the signs, to learn from the ghosts of the past, and maybe, just maybe, choose a different path? That is the question for our time.